Everybody, welcome to Kapow. Jeff Hunter with J Dub White.
Did you know it's cold outside? Just look on Facebook. Everybody tell me, man, it's cold.
It's cold, man. Dude, is it winter?
Winter.
Oh, go figure.
It's winter.
It is. It's unreasonably cold, though. I mean, it's normally in the 30s, but it's
all kind of cold. It's snowing at the beach. How cool was that? Man, I saw your sister down there, her family.
They're having day two out there.
It's crazy.
Yeah, man.
Coach Davis went out there. He was chilling.
Was his son throwing football with the shirt off?
Probably. yeah. He thinks he's something special.
Oh, my God.
Good athlete, man.
Well, welcome to Kapow Show. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about, it's our perspective. We're going to call it Kapow perspective, about minding your own business, but also throw some other things in there. So we just want you to get you some coffee or some drink, some water or something, and sit down and engage in this conversation that Jerry's about to have.
Why you put my business on the street? Why I gotta be Jerry?
I'm gonna go through it with you, but good grief! I mean, think about this.
Yeah.
Everybody at some time in their life has struggled at some point, and I'm gonna call it the art of minding your own business.
Okay.
Right. I think we need to drive this conversation and why it's important that people, especially Christians, mind their own business and stay focused on their own lives. And how, if you do that, that can transform communities. Now, I'm not saying, real quick, segue, I'm not saying you can't do stories about things, reports about things, talk good about other people. I'm talking about from the perspective of minding your own business when you're talking negative about people. Do you think that's what...
Most days I don't.
Do you think that that's important? Why or why not?
Man,
from Jerry's perspective. Don't try to get serious. Just speak.
Yeah, but it's such a topic that you can't just speak on, right? This is, from a church standpoint, from a pastor standpoint, family member standpoint, right? There's so many different directions to go in this, but let's talk from a pastor standpoint, since you are a senior pastor.
You just love saying that. That's cool. Okay, go ahead.
At what point do we not focus on other churches and just focus on your own church?
Ouch. Okay.
I mean, I'm saying, not throwing shade at other churches, but shouldn't you focus on your building, your people, and growing them instead of throwing shade at others, other churches, other organizations, Church of the Highlands?
You're asking me.
I am
from my perspective.
Hey, fam.
My perspective is, and you know what mine is. Yeah. I mean, if you see a post from me on my social page, it's a brief moment of a devotion for our church family, or something for our church to help our church. I don't have time. I mean, Christians are called to reflect, I believe, Christ's love, right, and His grace. But too often, I think we fall into the trap. I think it's a trap when we start to meddle, and we got to stay focused. So I think, yes, that question for me is. What I do here on our campus at First Church is I try to make sure I minister to our people who we're called to minister to, and call them to do the very same. So I don't have time. God's called me to pastor this church. God's called you to minister and pastor here at this church. I don't have time to worry about anybody else. I don't have time to do it. I don't think it's what I'm called to do, right?
Anybody called to do that? Because I want to know who's called to mind my business.
Well,
we got to talk.
Oh, you're talking about just no, I don't think so. I mean,
Great comment right there. I'm just saying, we'd be a lot better off if we focused on ourselves. Period.
That's a fact, Ms. Helms. I agree 100%. I mean, there's a tendency, and you and I, or anybody else probably watching, when we start to say things that we're passionate about. Like, I'm passionate about politics. I love it, right? But I also realize there's a fine line. I had to realize this a few years ago, about 3-4 years ago.
Sure.
That especially, it was really 4 years ago after the last election. I went heavy for a few months politically, and it hurt me. Not really much so our people. I realized that I was so far depressed and down in the dumps that I was focusing on other things that I couldn't change, and taking it out on our people and our congregation, and boy, you talking about an eye-opening thing when you take a step back and say, okay, God, let me look at me.
That's strong.
Yikes.
That's strong.
So social media call-outs.
Yes.
Public critiques. YouTube right now, in the Christian YouTube space, there is a ton. You and I are kind of addicted to them, some of them, where they're calling out other Christians, right?
Sure. And
it's coming specifically more so from where you and I watch is the guys from the Reformed community calling out Nazarenes, Pentecostals, Baptists, Methodist, not so much Methodist, but the conservative guys. If you don't speak in tongues, or if you do speak in tongues, and all those different types of things, do you think that's Christ edifying if I get on a social media page as a minister or just a Christian and start to bash other denominations like Pentecostals? Now, this, just say, for instance, let's talk real quick. I know you have a strong feeling on this one.
I don't.
You do. I've heard it. We call us Baptists on steroids, basically, right? I mean, we don't believe that speaking in tongues is for the church service at all, right? Because we feel like it's a disruption. That's just our what we believe. If you have a prayer language, or you have a time that you get by yourself and you pray and you speak to the Lord in whatever language or whatever it is that you do, that's between you and God. But the time that we have at church, but should I get up and start just to bash other people constantly because they speak in tongues?
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
It's not about tongues, but I mean,
I enjoy those videos where they're making fun of the people speaking in fake tongues.
Oh, I've seen that.
And they keep calling out the Hondas and the Hyundais.
Yes.
It's pretty funny, by the way. It's pretty fun.
Now, do you think there's a fine line?
Sure.
Of danger?
No, 100%. 100%. It ain't nothing to play with, man. Mocking and pretending to be something you're not. I didn't step any toes right there. Wow. What's up, Briggs Freeman?
Wow.
My boy Briggs on, man.
What's up, pal?
That's a dude right there. So, I want to talk about, if I can.
You're going to stay with social media call-outs, right?
Yeah. I'm reading one yesterday. It's great. You and I are looking back and forth. It's pretty funny, actually.
It is very funny.
I enjoy it from an entertainment standpoint.
Yes.
And I so love stirring the pot and just watching it.
Your thing.
Just watching it. But there's a pastor, a newer pastor, as far as just back being a pastor, as far as just accepted a church. He's very strongly opinionated right now. 100% is right to do so.
Darn right.
100% is right. There's a lot of people on the other side of that, though, that I wonder how many screenshots were taken of that post and shot around.
Bunch.
It was great. Right? I'm sure it's a ton. And he's can have his opinion, man. That's great. I just don't like vague opinions. Can I be honest with you?
And what do you mean by that?
If you're going to call something out, call it out, right? So if you got a qualm with Church of the Highlands. So you got a qualm with Church of the Highlands. Say, I don't like the way the Church of the Highlands is doing business. I don't like this about Church of the Highlands.
Okay.
Or whatever, intercept whatever church you want in there. To me, it's just, if you're going to do it, do it. Go do it. I mean, that's kind of what I've done with my life. On second thought, maybe you shouldn't.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
And have facts, right? Have facts. If you're going to call something out, now like you and I've never been called out before.
Holy moly.
Man. And some of those times, man, I needed to be called out because I was wrong. And I'm the first to admit if I'm wrong, begrudgingly.
That's so fact.
Just kidding.
He may not speak to you for about 6 months
No.
because he's mad at himself.
Yeah. See, I've been wrong before, but if we focus on our own selves, if we focus on our own congregation and doing Bible studies and those kind of things, and not worry about what the Church of the Highlands is doing, that is the largest church in Alabama, right? It's the largest organization,
one of the top 10 in the country,
and number one in Alabama.
Yep.
Like what, 60,000 people
insane.
or so?
Yeah, it's insane the amount of numbers. Yeah.
Man,
I don't know that number at all, but it is insane. I know LifeChurch.tv, where Craig Rochelle is the largest church in America. I do know that.
Let's see. And maybe it's just the Church of the Highlands show today. What do I know? Church of the Highlands is the non-denominational evangelical.
You're right, evangelical.
I said that's not what I said though.
Oh.
I had to correct myself.
Oh,
church, multi-site mega church based in Birmingham, Alabama. It's the largest congregation in Alabama with an average attendance every week, and this is from 2023.
Okay,
a little over 60,000.
that's insane. Yeah,
60,000.
Yeah.
First of all, praise God, there's 6,000 people in church.
I mean, what? I mean, what?
And
I mean, what pastor? What pastor would not want to pastor that?
me, I'm out.
Let me say, grow your church to be that. That's.
I'm still out.
I'm out. I'm retired.
That's too much work.
You're gonna pass it off when you
You
grow.
go past 60,000 people.
It's a lot, man.
Yeah, that's a lot to do.
It's a lot.
So good on them for that. But hey, can we talk a little bit about the lodge? Because I think there's some misinformation about the lodge.
But what is the lodge?
The lodge is it at the main campus? Is it Grant Mills?
I think it's Grant Mills. Close.
Hey, I got the power of the internet
Adjacent
right here.
somewhere?
In Gig City. Adjacent. That's like truth adjacent sometimes.
Well, let me read a scripture while you're looking at this,
Please.
because 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 11 and 12 says this. Listen, discuss Paul's advice, right? So Paul gives advice. Mm-hmm. He gives advice to the Thessalonian church. Here's what he says. Live quietly, work diligently, and he tells them to mind their own business. Woo. That's the Apostle Paul. That's the Apostle Paul telling the church, the Thessalonian church, to live quietly, work hard, and mind your own business. Now, that's a call.
That still plays today.
That's a call to focus on personal growth.
Yeah.
And actions that lead to respected, godly life.
So,
which is what you're fixing to talk
about.
Really.
The lodge, first of all, stunning. Right, it's gorgeous. It's the lodge at Grant.
Is that what
Mills.
you showed me earlier?
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Since the beginning of 2001, the Church of Highlands has been on a mission. So really what this is, and it gives a little bit of information about 1 in 4 pastors are planning to quit or retire by 2030. And so this is about restoring, refreshing, rejuvenate your calling in your church, and I mean for your church. And so I think there was some, I'm not going to say misinformation out there, but I know there was some people who have sinned sexually, pastors who have sinned sexually that went through the counseling program in here. That's not what this is. That's not what it is.
This is not for predators, people that have been incarcerated or committed a crime of anything, right?
That's my understanding.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. So hey, but if you know something I don't, put it out there.
Not. It's got to be facts, though.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there's not been any of those situations that didn't go.
I'm sure.
But why should they be excluded? depending on, I mean, are we talking, when you say a sexual
a rape
misconduct,
or a rape or something like that,
violent,
right.
something, being a predator, or you went out and cheated on your wife? Is that what you're calling sexual?
I think there needs to be restoration for that.
Sure, absolutely.
That's not a crime. It's a crime against God.
Yeah,
all right?
Maybe it should be.
Right. But murderers, I mean, it's amazing how we restore murderers.
Whew.
And let them fill the pulpit and be evangelists, but let a man or a woman have an affair and God totally radically changes their life and reforms it.
But that's the key.
Right.
Yeah, but that's
God
the key.
does it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
So, who's made more fun of the Church of the Highlands than me?
I don't know of one person. And I know a couple people, and I don't know of one person.
But that's not to say that.
I wish to God you and I could start something like that, because
Sure.
could we do conferences for something like that? Yes, but have a building where we could help restore people that are broken.
Sure.
A whole theme of the Word of God is restoration.
No doubt.
Keep going.
Now, what I'm saying is, I made fun of these people all the time. I call it a cult, all the time. Most of the time, though, I'm doing it
Two
because
head ushers and
I'm doing it to people at the church,
Right.
right, that go to the Church of Highlands, and I'm just giving them a hard time. I know a lot of great things that this church does.
I do too. Yeah.
I mean, truly, stepping back, taking ego out of it, and just looking at what they do. First of all, it's the best business plan going in America. 100%.
Everybody can learn from that business.
100%.
Every business. Yeah. It's incredible.
But they bless a lot of people, man. They break it down and have a lot of small group stuff going on.
Sure.
They do a movie.
It's called At the Movies.
At
It's a
the
theme.
Movies.
It started at Life Church, Craig Rochelle, and it spread to all of these other churches. Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
It's a great theme. Sure.
Soon to be mayor of Southside Alabama, Joey Statham, is a guy there, and
What? Here we go.
Stanfield. It's always Brian Stanfield. They're what do they call it when they go out and?
It's great.
And their work session or their help.
It's work.
Serve
day.
Serve
Serve
day.
day. Mm-hmm.
You see their T-shirts out
Yeah.
there, and they're out cutting grass or taking care of people. Man, that's amazing stuff they should be doing, and they do a great job of that. I know they have a big thing every year is their marriage counseling weekend or week that they do.
Sure.
There's a lot of good things that come out of the Church of Highlands.
Yes.
And I've never been to a service there.
You've heard me hammer it. It's not because they watch church on television.
That's why I give them a hard time.
That's the reason you get them a hard time.
Yeah,
There's a couple of things that I just don't like. My brother-in-law is a campus pastor.
Yes.
For one of their campuses, and I won't tell you which one.
I will.
No, you won't. It's on the site. And he does a great job. They started just really with nothing. It was a group of people that got together. They paid their own rent. They got together and said, we want to start a campus, and they do their own thing. And they just recently have got the Highlands to start paying their rent and doing all these other things. So they've grown. They've done well. And there's people that have been saved at that church. Mm-hmm. People have been saved. Let me say this. First Baptist Dallas. First Baptist Jacksonville, Florida. Rock City Church in Georgia. They started just a new campus in Macon. They do some television stuff, right? But I don't know if any. Those are three examples of solid biblical churches that preach the truth of God's word, right? Mm-hmm. And they have multi-site campuses. They place in campus pastors. Explain what the campus pastor does.
I don't know because he won't call me back.
This one won't. This is why I knew this is where it was going to go.
I didn't.
Anyway,
just call me back, man.
Just call back. So Jesus teaches in Matthew chapter 7. He says, it talks about hypocrisy, and he begs basically believers to remove the plank from their own eye.
Man, yeah.
And then he says this: remove the plank in your own eye before removing the speck or the whatever in somebody else's eye. So, what does that call? What do you got to do when you do that kind of stuff? It's self-reflection.
I guess it starts there, right? But you got to have. Man, you have to, when you do self-reflection, don't blow smoke up your own butt.
Right.
I mean, you have to really, truly focus on being real.
Because you can't fool you.
I've tried.
I mean, some of the stuff that I've said before, and as I'm saying it, I go, that's not right. I don't do that. That's not true. And then I come back the next week and tell myself, so, I said something, and I don't do that. But I don't, God almighty, man. What bothers you the most about this situation?
About Church of the Highlands?
Yeah.
I don't know that
I don't know if I call them a situation.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know that I'm bothered by. Maybe I don't understand. For being in church my whole life, there's just something about being in a room with a man of God, live on stage in person, sweating on you, walking around and doing his thing. That it's just different. It's just different. I can, but biblically, I can't find where it's wrong. I mean, I can't find.
Like talking about a TV?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
There's not. I mean,
no.
Well, we record our sermons
Sure
and
we do.
videos
Sure
and put
we
them
do.
on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that wrong?
Maybe. According to Church of Highlands, it's not.
What? I mean, what we say is just another. Here's my statement.
I just don't understand it, maybe.
We're using this as an opportunity, like YouTube or some people do Instagram or whatever.
I'm more liable to do Instacart.
Okay. Can you deliver a sermon? Could you order a sermon?
I'm just
Instacart
saying.
needs to start that.
I'm saying.
We could start that.
Instacart. Come on now.
Order your sermon. We'll deliver it to you. If we put on YouTube, we're asking people to watch. We say it's giving us opportunity to them to get the gospel.
Sure.
But isn't it the same? I mean,
is
it not the same to go to Opelika or Daphne or wherever else they got another camp? Auburn. There's 2 down there, you said?
East and West.
East and West. Isn't that the same? We're just asking you to come
Sure.
look at a YouTube channel with us, basically.
Yeah.
To get the word of God.
Pretty much. I mean, but you're gathered together with other believers, right? There's live people on stage singing.
Yeah.
My biggest complaint with them is when I'm trying to pick up breakfast in the morning at Jack's on 77 here, right? And they won't let you turn in.
That's a problem.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, they're leaving their early church service right there, and those people will not let you turn into Jack's. I Baptist them, man. I went straight Baptist on them a few times. Obviously, they wasn't listening to the pastor.
They don't have officers out there.
No, they're not like City Church.
There's one church. They don't have enough people to have an officer come out there.
Yeah. City Church will stop you in the middle of Highway 77.
That's wrong, too. Y'all need to fix that. That ain't right.
Sorry.
Mayor Taylor said the only thing y'all are allowed to do legally is turn right.
One lane.
Yeah, turn right. But anyway.
We digress.
Yeah.
Again,
that's a sore subject with us.
There's a lot of people that go to Church of Highlands, man, that I love. And I know their walk, man. Sure. Their fruit is awesome, and they love it. I love the fact they do all the different. Right now they're doing prayer and fasting, 21 days prayer and fasting, which is pretty cool.
They start every year like that. Sure
marriage conference is coming up in February. Yeah. Marriage conference in February. April they got something called Freedom
Church. That's in you check with Bruce Ward on that.
Freedom Conference. Hey, in this town, you got a Freedom Conference at the Freedom Center.
You better check with Bruce.
Yeah, better call Bruce on that. They got a Summer Blast. They got their serve days.
Check with Sonic on the Summer Blast.
Baja Blast. Mountain Dew. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's Taco Bell.
Serve Day, July 12th. Motion Student Conference is July 24th through 26th.
So I think one of the things that you and I maybe get lost in and we focus on, and I've, be honest, since yesterday, I've had to do a lot of reflecting and praying about this thing. I didn't know we were going to do a show about it. No idea. I had to ask myself, what is it I really don't like about it? And there again, doctrinally, there's a couple things I just don't like. It's the connection with the Word Faith movement. I don't like that. Sure. But are there people in the Word Faith movement that know Jesus and they get saved and born again and change because of that?
Probably.
Sure. Yeah. So I've got to check myself on that. But I think a lot of times where we get lost is there's so many people, and how do you shepherd so many people? They use life groups, what we call home cell groups back in the day. Small groups. Yeah. The youth group is enormous. How do you? I know they do. Supposedly, I think they do life groups or small groups for the youth group. Is that right? On different.
I can't
occasions?
speak to that. I would say probably so.
I haven't heard it, but I do know we've had some students that have gone over there. That some of your students, and come back and go. I mean, it's just like a big concert, and we have a sermon, and you leave. Those things are needed.
So what is the job of the campus pastor?
It's got to be congregational care, I would think. It's not that they visit all the sick, because you can't do that. Even if a church of 100, you can't do it. That's what your Sunday school classes are for, your small groups are for. But it's, I think, to steer them, to develop the curriculum alongside with at Highlands, I'm sure they have a curriculum director that helps Chris write these things and then puts them in. So they got to teach their teachers, teach their small group people how to do those things. So it's just congregational care and steering the church. It should be. I don't know if that's the case. I'm certain.
Let's click on small group.
That's what
I'm on their website.
So when God commands Christians to mind their own business, I don't think it's about avoiding conflict. I mean, you and I right now, this is something that's a conflict, but we're talking about it and growing in humility and grace, especially you and I with this one. And responsibility, I think, would probably be the word.
Well, I enjoy conflict.
Well, there's damage that's caused by gossip and judgment.
Sure. Conflict doesn't always mean that, though.
No,
right?
It does not.
Conflict means, hey, we're talking about a conversation that other people aren't really talking about.
But if you get into conflict and you start unnecessary conflict,
that's different. That's the Jezebel spirit.
It causes damage by gossip and judgment that's unnecessarily interfering in somebody else's life.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not going to come in here. Nobody's going to come in here. You can talk about us all you want to, but you ain't going to come in here and be disruptive. Mm-mm. You're going to find a quick exit. And I think that's how we ought to be, right?
Agree.
And I think that, dude, you can go on YouTube right now and find dozens and dozens of videos bashing Highlands. Bashing.
Yeah, they're all over. Yeah, they're out there. Big time.
Large videos. Mm-hmm. A couple million views.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they've done a good job by going, that's your opinion. We're going to keep doing what we're doing.
Sure.
For the cause of Christ.
Focus on their people. So I think sometimes I think it's jealousy, because they're so jealous that they're getting the attention. They got the people. Their sanctuaries are beautiful. They're large. They're paid off. There's no debt. Chris's 401k is massive, I bet. He's
proud of you,
doing the dang thing. Great business model. Absolutely. It is. Sure. My favorite thing,
they're part of the Acts 29 group.
They are. Yeah. Joey Statham does small groups sometimes for them, which I love.
I like his idea.
They get on a pontoon boat, and you bring your other boat. You go out in the middle. You're chilling. You're hanging out, and you have a Bible study on the Coosa River.
I think
cool.
There's a lot that are sanctioned by the church, but I think there's a lot of them that are a group from Highlands that get together that are not sanctioned.
Sure.
Right? We know one years ago that got together. It's a craft beer thing that was not sanctioned by the church.
It was not.
It's not.
And I kept getting the wrong date.
Jared's like, darn, I missed it again.
I kept showing up and they wasn't there.
But again, that's just a group of people getting together, talking about the Bible. We had what's his name? Jason Wilson on, the councilman for Gazan.
Yeah. Talk about craft beer. That's the dude.
Well, he had a thing at his back 40. It's called hymns and a beer.
Hymns and something.
Or beer and a hymn. And they sang redback hymns. And he said it's one of the most active nights and fun nights there. Now, you get a bunch of Baptists and Methodists there drunk and singing hymns. I guess it is fun. But
don't be calling nobody up on the floor to preach stuff.
And this is what I've had to put in my mind. My wife helped me with this too this morning. Don't let what you hear about them cause to skew your opinion, because just because they say it's not necessarily that.
I agree with that. And again, there's so much I don't know about them. And again, most of the stuff I be talking about is for pure comic relief. Right, I just be saying stuff that's pretty funny. At least most of that's probably not funny, but that's never stopped me before. But I think there's a lot of people there. They're hearing the Word of God. Chris does a great job. He's a great orator for sure. Leadership stuff he does. Man, he's pretty strong,
dude. I cannot find any fault in that. As far as a communicator. He's great. He's not most people's cup of tea, because he's not your old school type of church.
Yeah.
Where he's up there, as we used to call it back in the day, shucking the corn. But he's giving you some good substance as he's teaching, and people are drawn to it. And he has the demeanor, I think,
of an accountant.
But he has the demeanor that draws a lot of people in. He's disarming. When he's on the stage, there's a lot of people that get on stage and they're very, you put your guard up. You're a little scared of him, intimidated.
Sure.
He's not. Again, I've watched him only on television, been in a couple of meetings with him, but he's very disarming. I think you kind of hit it. He's an accountant. He just kind of
his book of how I got started. Joey Statham gave me that book. It was great. It was great. Again, I know everybody probably thought, hey, well, this is going to be Kapow bashes Highlands. That's not what we're doing at all.
So how
I can't believe we got from a Facebook post.
I think it's great. And by the way, thank you, buddy. Because and again, we think it's awesome that you sometimes things got to be called out. But
throw your opinion.
Put your opinion out there. How maybe we talk a little bit about how Christians often engage in public arguments about politics. That was me. Personal opinions, even theology. Do you think that's harmful to get into not debates but heated arguments about these things?
Well, I think that causes issues. Right? I think you're gonna cause anger, and it's gonna go in a different direction, and nothing positive comes of it. Right? And man, you don't think I'll be in a heated conversation with somebody?
Why don't we let things like? Let me give you an example.
But I haven't been that way in a long time.
No, you
I've
haven't.
actually really calm.
You really haven't. And okay, think of it this way: we've all seen on Facebook a thread, and then a harmless comment turns into an all-out war because of somebody's doctrine or somebody's belief, right? Do you think that's the best use of a Christian's energy? Because my father-in-law, God rest his soul, he's in heaven now, right? My wife's stepdad, Paul Lee. If you said anything negative about Donald Trump, right, he would get so mad and fight you and scream and yell and holler and probably not even talk to you for a while.
Which I love.
He had figured out and get it back right. But Donald Trump didn't know his name.
Yeah.
Didn't care anything about Lee.
That bro's loyal.
But he loves him, right? Loved him. And I would have to say that's not the best use of our time.
It's not. But do you remember the time that I photoshopped Donald Trump in an Auburn hat? He didn't talk to me for 2 weeks, dog. He didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. I said, look, I told you Donald Trump was an Auburn fan. Oh, he was so mad at me. He was great. I miss Paul.
But those types of things. Do you think that's
No, it's just the opposite, man. There's nothing that's glorifying God in that. You're not going to bring positivity. You're not going to bring people to your church. You're not going to do anything positive. But from an outsider, somebody who's very confident with their own where they're at spiritually, I sure do like reading them comments. It's entertainment.
Well, it is entertainment. But one of the other things I think we see a lot on social media is wasting our time talking about church dynamics, and I think maybe the church on the screen is a dynamic. They're using it as a tool. It's a positive tool.
Sure. Right.
I remember back in the day. I mean, I've been in ministry a long time, and I remember when churches wouldn't even allow a TV screen for them to put the words for the hymns up there.
Sure.
We got these hymns. We're going to sing out the hymns, and now those churches all have television.
Thank God.
Right.
God, legalism, man, there's in some areas there's a misconception where church was better in the 70s and 80s and the 90s than it is now, and we got to get back to that. If it doesn't come from the King James Version Bible, if it doesn't come out of the redback hymnal, then it's just not. If your preacher's not doing then it's not good preaching. It's not good. God.
You mean preachers that'll have the big fat knot ties and short ties?
Yeah, really short because the belly, right?
Oh, it lays on it.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Yeah.
They'd be staying away from the sin of gluttony, though.
What was good about that? I mean, the 90s church, it got hot. It got hot. Man, it was an outpouring, but why do I want to go back? Why do I want to go back to that?
I think it's the nostalgia.
Could be.
Right? I don't think it's... God still moves today.
No doubt he does. Praise God for it.
I also believe, can God still do what he did back then?
Sure.
Yes. But does he? I don't know. I think God moves the way he moves now. And he's still the same. We're just different. So the move looks different. Our society's different. Well, I mean, wouldn't you think? I mean, he back in the day, they used to have Billy Graham rallies, right, at big stadiums. And everybody, all fundamentalists talk how wonderful it was, right? And even now we talk about how wonderful it is, but now you got the guy that does the passion thing, Greg Laurie. Right? He does it with a different spin. And I remember when people got so mad at Billy Graham.
The Crusades.
When he was doing the Crusades, I'll never forget it. In the 90s, he brought in DC Talk.
I remember.
He brought in DC Talk and I don't know if it was Skillet or something, maybe not them, but he brought in 2 Christian rock bands, so to speak. And people got so angry with him. But you know what it did? I think he documented, you may have been the one that told me this, is that his attendance amongst the young people skyrocketed at these rallies. And it wasn't just the same old gray hairs like me showing up that had been saved for all these years. There were new kids coming in to hear these bands at a Billy Graham concert or crusade, and it worked.
Sure did.
So was he wrong by doing that and using innovative technology? You used to go to those stadiums and there was no screen. Yeah. And then Billy got in the 90s, next thing you know, there's Billy Graham and 20 screens in the stadium. Was that wrong?
Not in my opinion, but again, that's just my opinion.
Well, that's dynamics is what I'm saying. So if the message stays the same, do you think it's okay to change your methodology?
Sure. Well, as long as it's, you're giving the word of God and not your opinion, right? As long as you're giving the word, it doesn't matter if it's coming off a screen or, hey, and if you're one of those people who are all for the Redback hymnal and that's how you want to worship, I ain't mad at you.
There's a church for you,
man, no doubt.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many different ones. But if it's those people are saying that's the only way, it's not real church. It's not real church if it's not done like this. That's when I have a problem. Just my opinion.
How do you get past that though? How do you get past? Here's a statement that somebody made. And I saw it years ago. It's my social media page. Mm-hmm. I'll say what I want to on my social media page, mm-hmm. and if you don't like it, you can unfriend me and unfollow me and block me.
Love it.
That's a fair statement. But does that still discount the Christian that should not be engaging in arguments about wasting our energy? I looked through some of those comments, the posts we're talking about, and we'll just say, Jason, we love you. And so it's not you. It was some of the comments that they wasted their time engaging in arguments.
Sure. He put out a statement, and it went into a different direction.
And he said it was his own opinion.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
100%. Have your opinion.
Was that post a wise use of our time? I don't know. I wouldn't post it.
I didn't have nothing going on, so I enjoyed it. It was entertainment.
But, we saw some comments, some friends of ours that got heated.
Danny.
That were ticked off.
For one, and a couple other people.
Yeah, that got ticked off and wasted. That was a waste of their time defending something that was really needed no defending. So what are some things that we can do to not do that kind of crap? Some practical tips.
Yeah, Brian Stanfield just made a post here. His dad was a pastor once a pastor, always a pastor, and preached for that. Like he's preached for over 55 years. Where people think doesn't matter. All that matters is what God thinks. My father preached for 55 plus years, and he says all the time, nothing has changed besides the people. God's the same.
See?
Strong.
See?
Yeah, no doubt. 100%.
Ray Freeman wants to meet at the golf course? Not today. Ray, do you?
It's too cold to play indoor putt-putt.
Ray, can you spell golf course?
He voiced the text. That's what he did.
He did.
Yeah, so, again, I'm not here to try to tell you what to do at all, right? But if you're asking, is what you're doing on your social media, if you're bashing churches, if you're doing these different things, how is that glorifying God? That's what I'm saying.
Thoughts. Your thoughts, Jerry White's thoughts on. Let's just say it. You brought them up. It was not supposed to be a Church of the Highlands episode, but you brought them up.
That's what everybody's thinking.
They're the largest church in our state, and they're not the only church in the state of Alabama that does multi-site and televisions. Just so you know, they're not. A lot of Baptist churches are doing it, right? Some Methodist churches are doing it in our state. That are growing, using that as an opportunity. But what are your thoughts on the, I guess, the excitement? When somebody asks, they come in these little groups, Oaks Bluff guys and Glencoe, Rainbow City, Southside. I'm moving to the area. Please tell me a church, and you'll see see a bunch of different churches, but
which is awesome.
probably over 50% of those posts or comments are Church of the Highlands.
Sure.
Why are people so energized about their church, about that church?
Well, first of all, I think you should be energized and excited about where you choose to worship. Right, that's a good thing, and there's a large number. If you just look from a mathematical standpoint, there are going to be more Church of the Highland posts in there because there's more people that go to Church of the Highlands than anywhere else in our local area. And that's not discrediting some a city church or Meadowbrook or anything like that, First Baptist Gadsden. But you see a lot of posts from our church. We always welcome everybody. Hey, please give us an opportunity. We're blessed to have a lot of places to worship, good churches in our area.
Sure.
Fairly, we really do. But they do have a lot going on. They do a good job of keeping their congregation busy. As far as, I'm not one for busy just to be busy. Even in the church, I'm not a fan of that, as you know. I really enjoy family time. But if you have what they do with their children's department, amazing.
Right.
What they do with their sensory, what's the
sensory room? Children that have autism.
Correct.
They go in and have sensory rooms.
Man, that's the fact that they have all those different things for everybody. They have something for everybody, truly, any time of the day or night. And again, my biggest issue with them is I said issue. Let somebody turn into Jacks. Okay, that's an issue. But
hindered him getting his chicken biscuit.
It wasn't even for me.
It
wasn't even for me. I was getting it for your daughter and my wife.
Oh, that's another problem. You
I'm
better stay
saying,
away.
Get them women upset at a brother, man. I just can't comprehend going to a place like that and not being in the room with the pastor. That's just a Jerry White thing. It's not bad. I mean, again, there's people I respect. They go to that church. There's people that I respect their walk. I respect their ministry, what they do, how they live.
Sure.
So if that meant it's obviously something really, really good about them, or those people wouldn't be there.
Out of all the positives that you've said, and
I said something positive.
You said a lot of things positive. Out of all the positive things, that somebody's going to grab one negative thing and just go crazy.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Well, there's positive and negatives about everything. Positive and negatives about every church,
especially yours,
especially mine. Absolutely.
When you say we're almost done, you got 45 more minutes. That's the key.
I keep them guessing. Week before last, we were around 55 minutes. 55 minutes. This week, hour 20.
Just so I got it pretty down. I know when you're real, when you're not.
Yeah. You're like, oh, settle in, Kelly.
I've been in there. Yeah, just
settle in.
You better go and go to the bathroom.
Settle in. Well,
when you get to point 1, 37 minutes in,
that was tough.
That's a long service.
I confused myself a little bit.
You got off track.
I did.
It was a good service, though. It was good.
I did. But I had somebody just send me this. I'm going to read you this.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's some positive. This is from my perspective. These are positives and negatives about Church of the Highlands. Mm-hmm. Positive, dynamic worship services, right? The church is known for a big time worship. They do it like a big deal. So I agree with you. Number 2, strong focus on small groups. That's how we do congregational care, what you just mentioned.
That's awesome. Man, yeah, for it.
Okay.
Heck
so
yeah.
we get some questions answered. Outreach and community, Jerry, you just mentioned Serve Day.
Serve Day.
And those things. So they says our church is heavily involved in Serve Day. We have hundreds that go all over our city, not just this city, but all over the state, out serving on the same day at the same time.
That's awesome. Heck yeah.
Okay.
For it.
This is another one. This is what the pastors do. They provide quality leadership training. The people that go through this, most of them go through Highlands College, mm-hmm. and teaches them about leadership and those types of things. So accessible locations.
But not accessible campus pastors.
That's true. We have found that to be true.
Yeah.
And then transparency is what they say. They're very open financially transparency. I don't know that to be true. But you go there. Negative. We always get criticized for being a megachurch. And which.
Okay.
Right. But we've had some people say, and you had a conversation with somebody, I don't know who it was, that sat in this chair in the other room down there many years ago that mm-hmm. said, I like to go in and not be noticed.
Okay. There's some of that. No, that's a.
I mean, that would be the place to go if you want to go and not be noticed.
Yeah. When Kelly and I get away for a Sunday from here, mm-hmm. We go to a massive church. Mm-hmm. We go to Redemption to the Nations in Chattanooga. Mm-hmm. We got some great friends that go there, and it's good to go in and really not know anybody, and just just worship and be fed. And that's a big. I don't know how many they run. They're not as big as the Highlands, but
I'm sure it's several thousand. Yeah.
So I get that, man. You ain't gotta, we don't have to do anything for anybody, right? You're not working because being a pastor sometimes, man, as you know, especially when we're running two services, and you're having to preach two services, two different locations. Man, it's work.
That could have been a benefit for us if we would have done a live stream.
Sure. No, it would have
different. Same.
Looking back,
right? Yeah, looking back. Yeah, because it was exhausting.
Yeah, like someone could have one of us could have been there at that location, kind of getting it started, leading it. Then you do your thing.
Right.
It would have saved gas money. Wouldn't have been late. Hey, but let me throw this.
Would have been late.
let me throw this at you, Pastor. At one point, and pastors need to break too, right? Pastors need to be. But at what point what's the difference in the pastor's vocation and occupation?
Well,
you didn't know what was going to deep, did you?
Okay, vocation, I guess it means it's referring to your calling,
right?
To the divine purpose in your life, what God has called me to do. It's I guess your sense of mission, your sense of passion, spiritual guidance. For a pastor, I guess it's being it's probably typically seen as a vocation, right? It's your spiritual calling. Yes, this is what I'm called to do, but this is what I do for a living to support my family. But that gets an occupation. But it's really a vocation. This is my spiritual calling. My call is to pastor and shepherd people. If we look now, this is I think where you're going, because biblically the shepherd is about shepherding the flock, but think about this. Different flocks have different sizes.
Sure.
There's some shepherds that are out there that have a herd of 100, but then there are also shepherds out there that have herds of thousands of sheep that are out there. They still have to maintain it.
Right.
And they're responsible for it. Do they have other people that come alongside them to keep them in line and following the shepherd? Yeah, certainly they do. Occupation, it just simply means your job and profession. This is my occupation because the majority of my income comes from pastoring the church, but I have to subsidize it. I mean, I get my hands dirty, but the difference to me is...
But take that part out of it. I'm really more focused on when those two get blurred.
They can get skewed.
Hard not to in some situations, to be fair.
Sure.
So...
When your occupation flows over into your vocation.
Yeah, it's...
Over into your call.
It's tough.
Where you compromise your call...
For the paycheck?
For the paycheck. You compromise the gospel for the sake of keeping your job, keeping the flock happy. But my question always is, if the flock is not happy, are they really your flock?
So if you got some words for young pastors or new pastors, or very different, being a pastor is very different than being a preacher.
Yes.
It requires two sets of focus. So I know Billy Graham was an amazing evangelist, and he said I would have been a horrible pastor. That's what he said. Wow. That's him saying. I don't think I would have been a good pastor.
Wow.
I don't remember the details of. I think he goes on to why, or I don't remember that.
He's called his spiritual gift. He's called.
He was evangelist, man, and who did it better? Paul.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, when you're on that level, it's pretty strong. So if you got some young, because I know there's some people who are newer to the ministry, and people in your family, right, called to preach and pastor, and even people like Jason Cole, who hasn't been an on staff pastor but is now back being on, and good for him, and he's doing a great job over there. What's some words of wisdom to not get the two confused?
I had somebody tell me a long time ago, and it was not a pastor. Well, he was a music minister, and I guess that's a form of pastorate, whatever. Yeah. Because he had his music ministry contained of 100 people. So I mean, he kind of pastored his choir, really,
Sure.
because they had Bible studies and everything together. But he said something one time, and he didn't say it in a mean way. I was having a problem with one of our children's ministries because they had a large ministry. Right? I mean, it was very large, and I was the student pastor. I'm a youth pastor, and I'm an associate pastor, but I'm also in charge of youth ministry.
Sure.
And kind of your role, really, what you're doing. And I was mad and frustrated. He just simply sat down and he said, Jeff, stay in your lane. And he said, and I don't mean that negatively. He said, you've been called for a specific purpose to a specific role in this church. Stay in your lane. Pastor them. Mentor them. Focus on them. And so if I could say anything to any of them, it would simply be, and I had to learn that. I learned that the hard way, even in senior pastor.
It's the best way to learn. Or maybe not the best, but it's the most effective way to learn.
Yes. And it's staying in your lane and just ministering to the people God's entrusted you with. So, and again, that's why I use my social media, my wife and I's social medias, to be an extension of the pastorate for my church. I love all these other people. I mean, I have a bunch of, I have 4 or 5 that do not go to our church that read every devotion that I put out because they're friends of ours or people that we've met through the show. A couple of them that I've met through the show that are highly influential in our county that will read those devotions. So it is an extension, but I treat it as this is my post today to pastor my people, and you never want to pastor your people in a negative way. Do we have hard sermons? Do we have hard things that we preach? Sure we do.
You better.
But I guess that would be it. Stay in your lane and pastor your people because that's where you're at. I don't pastor the Highlands. I don't pastor First Baptist Woodstock. I don't pastor those churches, even though I love them.
Dude, First Baptist Woodstock was
different. That's where Ellen and I go. We'll drop off there. We'll go to Abba's house and sneak in there because we can go in and leave. So I guess just stay in your lane. And that's tough. And that's not, look at me, that's not a criticism, y'all. I mean, it's just,
no. That's good advice.
For advice and study. You can never study too much.
Yep.
You can't. So
good stuff.
Yeah, man. Yep. Wow.
So that's going to change because all these people think I hate the Highlands. So my reputation's ruined.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
one show.
It's just because you smart off the people that are watching that that go there. So.
Yeah.
And again, I hammer it. I mean, and I even tell people, look, that we may not be your cup of tea, and I'll say it from the pulpit. And if we're not your cup of tea, there's places out there that you can go. Going down to the Highlands, if you go down to Meadowbrook or go down wherever. I mean, that's not an insult or degrading them. It's just simply we may not fit. You may not fit, and there's no reason because you don't fit or because you don't like certain things to go out there and bash certain things. There's certain things that I do. I'm not going to bash myself. I
will.
I know. I'll leave that to you. But I mean, think about it. There's churches down the road that we don't like the way they do things.
Sure.
I'm going to ask you this, and then we can be done. But
here we go.
Here's the quick criticism that I've heard and I've experienced because we have pastor friends that pastor other churches in this area right down the road from us. When the Church of the Highlands came. Right, they come with a big team, especially when a location like this. It's a big launch. They put a lot of preparation into it, a lot of prayer into it. Pick the right people to put in place. So they're doing their due diligence, but it's the people, the Meadowbrooks, the Cross Points at that time, these other churches that are larger. At this time, the Dwights, the Cathedral Praise. A lot of churches lost instantly when they launched a bunch of people. One church went from 3 services to 2 services, right? And it's because, and we asked the leadership, why did that happen? Well, we lost about 150 to 300 people on any given service in that one particular service. So we had to shut it down.
Yeah.
It was a waste of our resources, and we had some seats. And where did they go? Well, they went, for the most part, they moved to the Highlands. So a lot of people are saying, well, they build their church based off of other church members. What do you say to something like that?
Well, again, if your church member decides to go to the new and shiny or the bigger church, maybe they wasn't your church member.
Yeah.
Right. There's something going on that that they didn't like. They were unhappy because a good church member a happy church member, a satisfied church member, someone that's being fed at their church, you're not looking.
Yeah.
Right? You're praying for these other churches. You're praying for them to do good and get people that, if you're a church jumper, hey, when this preacher steps on my toes, I'm going to the next church. Sure. That's who you're always going to be. Yeah. And we always got a seat open for those people too.
Sure.
Right. But that's what it is. Just focus on yourself and growing your flock.
Yeah.
And if they were leaving because it's a nice new big thing, or they're doing it for a business opportunity to, it's a country club environment, because we've heard that before as well. Sure. And it's cheaper to go to the Highlands than it is to be a member of the Gadsden Country Club.
That's a fact. Yeah, that's a fact.
Just kidding, Gadsden Country Club.
No,
I haven't played there in a long time. I need to get out there.
It's not. So, but what you're saying is, if somebody came over here because they were not happy with their church, we're not going to turn them away.
No, of course not.
So you can't fault Highlands for that.
Absolutely not. No, yeah, the Church of Highlands. No, I can see Joey Statham, the main door welcomer, or the greeter. Aren't you in your membership at Meadowbrook?
Right.
Sir, you can't come in.
Yeah.
Well, aren't you at Heritage and Southside?
Right.
Sir, you can't go. I'm going to call Mark O'Brien. Hey, you got one of your members out here in the park. Better come get them. We ain't going to let them in.
Mark be like this. Well, if they believe that way, let them stay over there.
Just go and get them.
I'm kidding. Well, so, I mean, I guess we've both kind of cleared up some things. We self-psychologized ourselves.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. I mean,
and me without coffee.
I'm almost done with mine, so
good gracious.
I think it's probably time to wrap it up. But man, what a great conversation, and thank you, Jason, for that post, man. Because we'll give you credit.
It got the conversation started.
It did.
Hey, go ahead and pitch his church, why don't you?
Yeah, go out to Bethel Baptist Church. I don't know where it's
at.
Roosevelt
in the Flatwoods.
It's off of South 11th, right?
Yeah,
off of South 11th, down in the Flatwoods.
Going to Banks Park to make right.
Bethel Baptist Church. Yeah. Church is at 11 o'clock, I believe.
I think so.
And I'll tell you something. If you want somebody that's going to, we'll just say what he said. Go the old-fashioned type of preaching. You like the getting with it. He's going to preach the Bible, so that's where you need to go.
Careful, he may take his shoes off though.
Don't take your shoes, Jason. Don't do it, man.
Especially when you had those socks on that fit each end of it like a mitten.
Do you remember when his toes? He had them, and they were kind of gripping the
like a crepe keeper.
I mean,
like he catches his dinner out the Coosa River. That's what they were looking like. Jason.
Yeah, I did not like those things. That scared me a little bit. Look, I'm claustrophobic, and I don't think I could have my toes confined.
It's restricting. It's restrictive. I don't.
You wore them things before?
Mm-mm. You seen these size 14s?
You seen the people that use the running shoes that look like that?
I'm out.
Ain't nobody would look
they
like
need Jesus.
Ain't nobody look like that. Don't wear those at church. Bethel Baptist Church. Go on and see Jason, man. We love you, buddy, and thankful for your conversation starting, and also the comments. All of you guys that got mad, we're thankful for that too.
I was laughing.
Don't get mad. Just get glad, right? And
they're not a sponsor.
Nope. Get glad. See ya.